Nikola Jokic, the Serbian basketball sensation, has undoubtedly become one of the league's most intriguing and polarizing figures. Revered as an all-time great despite his relatively young age, Jokic's unique playing style and incredible offensive prowess have set him apart from the rest of the NBA's elite. Standing tall at an imposing 6'11", Jokic defies the conventional expectations of a center, showcasing a versatility that extends far beyond the paint. His exceptional court vision and playmaking abilities are nothing short of extraordinary, rivaling those of the most skilled guards in the league. It's not uncommon to see him threading precision passes through the tightest defensive gaps, leaving his opponents bewildered and fans in awe. The way he navigates the floor with ease and accuracy is truly a sight to behold, redefining the role of a center in modern basketball. The Joker managed to accomplish the only accolades missing on his resume, winning at the highest level in the NBA. Once again, he proved his doubters wrong, so let's see what some of them have said about him. When Jokic won his 2 MVP awards, the Nuggets ended their regular seasons as the 3rd and 6th seed respectively, and didn't manage to make more noise in the playoffs after that, getting eliminated in the Western Conference semifinals in the 2020-21 season, and in the first round of the 2021-22 playoffs. This lack of success in the postseason raised some doubts about Jokic's ability to lead his team to playoff success. NBA analyst Zach Lowe was one of the concerned people about this situation. At this point, everyone knows the ridiculous numbers Jokic can put up on a nightly basis. Playing alongside Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. might improve his stats in certain areas. However, there are now expectations for the team to be the top seed in the Western Conference. This will hurt his chances when it comes time to cast votes for the league's most valuable player. The Denver Nuggets finished the regular season as the top seed in the Western Conference. And despite Nikola Jokic not winning the regular season MVP award for the first time in 3 years, the 2022-23 campaign can be considered one of his most successful in Jokic's career. One of the key reasons why Nikola Jokic didn't end up winning the regular season MVP award was that many people dismissed Jokic's advanced analytics numbers, often calling out his game and the way they think he chases stats. There are many people in the NBA world who think that Joel Embiid passes the eye test with a better grade than Jokic does. One of those people is NBA analyst Mike O'Connor, who was a firm believer that Joel Embiid deserved to win the 2022-23 regular season MVP award ahead of Jokic. Joel Embiid is going to win the scoring title and is a top 5 defensive player in the league and isn't going to win MVP because another guy has a better VORP. Embiid this season has been a better player on a better team with a far better story than Jokic, but is going to lose convincingly because NBA media fetishizes a bunch of metrics they can't even begin to explain. Yes, Jokic deserves to be right there, but at this point, I'm just assuming that the thing that is tipping the scale so heavily in his favor is the advanced numbers. And if that is true, that is a total embarrassment for NBA media and would never happen in any other sport. Well, Joel Embiid ended up winning the regular season MVP award, and he proved O'Connor's case, but Jokic proved to be the better player in the playoffs, leading his team to a championship, while Embiid cried his way out of the playoffs. DeMarcus Cousins was one of the most dominant big men in the NBA during the 2010s, before suffering from serious injuries that ultimately ended his career. As a great big man, DeMarcus Cousins knows what it takes to become one of the best at your position. But even he thought that Nikola Jokic didn't deserve to win 3 straight MVP awards, something that has been accomplished only by Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird. I'm not okay with being 3 MVPs in a row because it then becomes a conversation of, is this the best basketball player to ever touch a basketball? Cousins said while talking on the KG Certified Talk Show. I think we can all agree on that and say it's not saying he can't be, not saying he doesn't deserve more down the road. But at this stage in his career, I'm not okay with saying that. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't been to a final. It's a lot of things still in play for that. And now we're in the conversation. At this point, he's the best center of all time with 3 in a row MVPs. We're putting him over the likes of Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain. And it's just like a tough conversation to have. Can we sit here and say right now today that Jokic is not only the best big to ever play, but the best basketball player to ever touch a ball with 3 MVPs in a row? And I'm not comfortable saying that. After the 2022-23 playoffs and Denver Nugget winning the NBA Finals, we'll have to ask DeMarcus again on his thoughts about Jokic, who proved to the world he is a real winner on the basketball court while being one of the best centers and players in general of all time. Patrick Beverley is a player that isn't afraid to publicly state his opinion on every topic available. No matter how controversial, Pat Bev always speaks his mind, even if he ends up sounding foolish. When asked about who he thinks is the best center in the NBA, Beverly gave an interesting answer, to say the least. I have my personal intake of who I think the best five-man is. Conversation was, Pat, you played with Cat. You played against Embiid. You played against Joker. Who do you think the best big man is? And I go, y'all not gonna like my answer. Cat. Beverly said on the Pat Bev pod. They were like, what? But when it comes to like offensively gifted players, it's Cat and it's James Harden, and I think I got Cat 1. I've been around this guy. Well, unfortunately for Pat Bev's take, Cat's talent managed to take the Timberwolves to an 8th seed and a first-round gentleman's sweep by Jokic's very own Denver Nuggets. In the series, Cat was totally outmatched by Jokic, as Nikola outperformed Towns in every statistical category in the series, ultimately proving who the better player is. Hopefully, Pat Bev changed his mind after the series. NBA analyst Skip Bayless has made a living out of being a hater and an almost blinded Michael Jordan bandwagon. Skip never manages to underperform with his takes, always coming up with something crazy to say about the current-day NBA stars. In the series against the LA Lakers, Jokic managed to hit some pretty unorthodox shots, which resulted in destroying LA's hopes for the playoffs, but more importantly, some hate from Skip himself. While everybody was impressed by how Jokic managed to hit those shots, Skip wasn't, and called Jokic the luckiest player in the world. I have never ever seen a man lucking as many shots as Joker did tonight. We used to call them greasing in shots. Tonight, Joker was one big tub of Crisco. Let's just leave this take alone, it's not worth talking about it. Jimmy Butler is one of the NBA's most competitive players, and was Jokic's main rival in the finals. In a game in the 2016 Olympics, when Serbia and the US faced off against each other, Jokic hit Butler in the lip. The hit wasn't on purpose, and Jimmy knows it, so he kept it cool. I still owe him. He busted my lip in the Olympics, so don't think I've forgotten about that. He did, on a screen. He caught me with one of those chicken wings. It's okay, I don't forget though. Messed my swag up. Now I can't take no photos and the honeys are not gonna look at my pictures. This comment was said as a joke, but even if so, Jimmy didn't keep his word as the Miami Heat ultimately fell short to the Nuggets in 5 games. Kendrick Perkins was a mediocre player during his playing days, but when it comes to his career as an analyst, his playing career was infinitely better. Perkins has had some of the worst takes on television, but this one about Jokic was just wrong because it was straight up racist. When it comes down to guys winning MVPs since 1990, it's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. Do you know who those 3 guys were? Steve Nash, Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki. What do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it. This comment received a lot of hate because of the racist background, but also because how delusional it was. With Jokic's all-time performances, even Kendrick Perkins had to admit he was wrong about Jokic's qualities. I've been in denial about Jokic and the Nuggets, but I must say that they are legit. Carry the hell on. Later, he even added some praise for the Nuggets' big man, saying that he is the most skilled center ever. He is the most skilled center to ever touch the damn basketball. But we are to blame, and that's us as the media, us at the network, ESPN, because we should do a better job of promoting and marketing him, and he should be on television. We shouldn't have to be waiting to the NBA Finals to be able to appreciate Jokic. We got to do a better job, including myself, of actually marketing him. Hearing Perkins speak glowingly of Jokic now is interesting considering the mass debate he sparked earlier this year when the Nuggets center was the favorite to win the league's regular season MVP award. Joel Embiid is one of the NBA's best centers alongside Nikola Jokic, but despite winning the MVP award in the 2022-23 season, Embiid managed to damage his legacy because of his acts off the court, often talking down on Jokic while he was getting praised by him. Embiid was often called out for publicly crying about the criteria behind the MVP award. The criteria does change. If we want to talk about the last 3 years since I've been in the running for it, the first year it was that I didn't play enough games. Last year, I came back, I played enough games, I led the league in scoring, and obviously, Nikola deserved it, and he won it. But then again, he won as a 6th seed in the West. And then this year, I'm leading the league in scoring, I'm doing all of these things defensively. I should be making an all-defensive team too. I don't care, but every year, it's something. And when you add analytics into it, which don't make sense, you can talk about analytics all you want. When you got some guys in the league, the eye test tells you that they're not good defensively, but analytics tell you they're the best defenders. That's when analytics don't make sense at all. I don't make the rules, I don't choose whatever criteria that they use, so it's really about whatever people's preferences are. Joel Embiid got his wish and won the MVP award, but again was outshined by Jokic, who won the championship and finals MVP, while Joel was crying again. this time about his lack of help. Nikola Jokic is not regarded as one of the NBA's better defenders, that's a fact. Some stats prove this case to be right, as analyst Kirk Goldsberry pointed out in the Zach Lowe podcast. The takeaway is this: compared to the other elite big men in the NBA, he's not great as a shot defender. He's giving a high percentage in the paint, and he's giving up more points defending layups than anyone in the player tracking era. 12.7 points per game on layups alone when contesting those shots. Does that mean I hate Nikola Jokic? No, I love Nikola Jokic. I just think it's a relevant data point at this part of the conversation. Hate him or love him, the Joker's on top, and in the playoffs he was pretty decent on defense, stepping his game up and becoming a reliable defender in the playoffs. Up to this point, Jokic was regarded as an amazing talent, but not one of the greatest ever because of his lack of success in the postseason. William C. Roden is a fan of Jokic, but even he remained questionable on Jokic's case as one of the greatest players in NBA history. He is a great player. You'd be foolish to draw any other conclusion, but his career must be allowed to play out before he can be put on Mount Everest. Where will he be in the next 7 years? How many NBA titles will he win? How many more MVPs? Will he overcome obstacles and maintain a high level of performance? Draymond Green is one of the most vocal guys in the NBA. As a vocal guy, Draymond remains careful as to how he says the things he says. Draymond really appreciates the Joker and didn't want to be misunderstood about the comment he left about Jokic's defense. I think all of us love the Joker offensively, but if they are ever going to win anything, he has to do better defensively. Right here, Patrick Beverley is going to beat Torrey Craig from behind the half-court line, and this right here is a simple rotation that requires little effort. Stop the ball! Here's another instance where he doesn't do his rotation. If they are going to win, he has to do better. You have got to have an impact on this side of the game as well if you are trying to win anything significant, and he has not done that. Criticism like this is often good for players as they see that they are not clowned for their liabilities. Instead, knowledgeable information is being told about it. If they are not egocentric, they will accept the criticism and get better. And Jokic did just that, and even told Draymond that he appreciates his comments and really needed them. Hakeem the Dream is a retired NBA player who is widely regarded as one of the greatest players in NBA history. Olajuwon had a chance to watch Jokic play, and he really enjoyed it. He doesn't look strong, but I see he gets such deep post position. I think maybe it's the mismatch, but then he does the same thing against bigger guys. His shot, his fakes, they are very difficult to time. You don't know when he's faking and when it's real. He has tricks. He is the one. During his time in the NBA, Hakeem wasn't known for his physicality, yet his skilled footwork and soft touch around the rim. An all-around big man, it is to no surprise that the former NBA MVP is a fan of Jokic's game. Another NBA analyst who is suspicious of Nikola Jokic's MVP award is LeBron James fanboy Nick Wright. Nick Wright has some of the most outrageous takes in NBA media, and this one is no exception. The MVP has to be awarded in some hallway somewhere because he is not playing that great in round 2. When you look at the list of MVPs in league history, I say this with much respect to Nikola, he would be the worst player to win one in the last 35 years. Chris Paul wouldn't be one of the worst because he is an all-time great player, and Nikola Jokic is only a good player who is having a good season. Nick Wright doesn't consider himself a Nikola Jokic hater because, when I said this 2 years ago, I was called a Nikola Jokic hater, but I ended up being right. I said that I had Nikola Jokic second in the MVP race, behind Chris Paul. I was called a hater, but Chris Paul swept his A*S in the playoffs. The second one doesn't even make sense. People have got to realize that the NBA Most Valuable Player award is a regular season award only. It is based on what you show in the 82 games before the postseason, not during the playoffs. However, despite getting swept, Nikola Jokic still played great basketball in the series against the Suns, averaging 25 points, 13.3 rebounds, and 5.8 assists, leading his Nuggets in these 3 statistical categories. Chris Paul's team beating Nikola Jokic Nuggets doesn't give CP3 any points in the MVP race. So, when someone like Nick Wright mentions playoff success and regular season MVP in the same sentence, just stop paying attention to them. It's much easier that way. But beware, they will continue arguing. Last year, I was called a hater because I said there is 2 guys in the Western Conference carrying mediocre teams, Jokic and Luka. And everybody was like, oh Nick, you are showing nepotism, you are biased. I was like, no, Luka is better. And Luka made it to the Western Conference Finals. Listen, Jokic, if he hadn't won those 2 MVPs, he would be the leading candidate. Again, let's say it together. Playoff success doesn't matter in regards of winning regular season MVP. There is such thing called voters' fatigue, and this is a perfect example for it. The regular season MVP shouldn't be given to somebody who has not won it yet. Instead, it should go to the most valuable player in that season, no matter if they are winning it for the first time or three-peating. ESPN's Max Kellerman recently stated, "I've never seen a disconnect like this where a guy monopolizes the MVP, and yet he floats out of my top 5 at number 5. His fellow ESPN co-worker Kendrick Perkins stated afterward that Jokic needs to show playoff success to win future MVPs. It is crazy to say that Jokic is not a top 5 player in the league when he is leading his squad to the top seed in the conference while averaging a triple-double. But more importantly, we must not forget that the NBA regular season MVP award is a regular season award only. Come on, the name itself says it. But okay, we are going to bust this myth also. The Nuggets lost to eventual champions Golden State Warriors in the playoffs in 2021-22. In this gentleman's sweep, the Nuggets had Jokic surrounded with not such productive players. Monty Morris, who is now averaging 10 points per game for the lowly Washington Wizards. Will Barton, who recently got cut from the same lowly Wizards. Austin Rivers, who is averaging 5 points this season. Green, who is averaging 6 points per game. Bones Highland, who is shooting 39% from the field. Bryn Forbes and DeMarcus Cousins, who are both out of the league as we speak. Aaron Gordon and Jeff Green are the only guys who are still playing for the Nuggets this season. A year prior, the Nuggets got swept by the Suns, who also were a finals team in the same postseason. This sweep hurts, but let's not forget that Jamal Murray was out of the series with a torn ACL. After a 17-year NBA career, Richard Jefferson decided to take his talents to the media world. Now an ESPN basketball analyst, we get to hear RJ's takes on basketball on a daily basis. He is a big-time fan of Jokic, but sometimes has shown uncertainties about the Joker's MVP case. I have Jokic and Giannis neck and neck. That means Giannis is going to have a week, which we know he can. He can do that, and all of a sudden he jumps a little bit. Jokic can have 2 okay games. It's not like Denver's undefeated. So, my point is, I'm not trying to devalue anything that Jokic is doing by saying we need to take a harder look at what Giannis is doing with all of his teammates injured. The main reason why Jokic has won 2 straight MVPs, he is a phenomenal player, I am not arguing that, but the main reason he won was because he led the Nuggets without Jamal Murray to a high seed in the West. And this year, Giannis is doing exactly that. No Chris Middleton for 6 months, and the Bucks are still the first seed in the East. Unfortunately for RJ's take, when we look at the Western Conference standing, the Nuggets are running away with the first seed as well, as the Grizzlies are 4.5 games behind them as second. The Nuggets have had the luxury of more depth this season, with Jamal Murray back and Aaron Gordon, who is performing like a fringe all-star. However, especially in Gordon's case, you could argue that Nikola has a big part in that. Without Jokic's gravity and court vision, Aaron Gordon's performance would definitely suffer. While what Giannis is doing is nothing short of amazing, let's not take anything away from Jokic and the Nuggets. When the Nuggets' rotation was cut short due to injuries, the counter for Jokic's MVP case was that they only had 49 wins. This season, when the Nuggets are healthy and the first seed in the West, the counter is that Jokic has more help than Giannis. By winning the 2022-23 NBA championship by leading the number 1 seed in the West as a finals MVP, Jokic officially established himself as one of the greatest players in NBA history. As Jokic is just 28 years old, he is just entering his prime, so the best is yet to come for the Joker. Let's just hope his focus still remains on basketball, so we get to see more and more of him in the future. Congratulations to the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic on becoming the best team in the world.